Norway, which has a national church but no national religion, is one of those countries where religion is literally subsidized by taxpayers. The more members you have, the more money your preferred religious or humanist organization receives. Any religious group with 50 registered members is eligible to apply for state funding, and over 800 groups have received it. Now, this law is very clear about the types of religious and non-religious organizations that can receive that money. There are, however, some rules that govern that allocation. If a religious or philosophical community or individuals acting on behalf of the community commits violence or coercion, makes threats, violates children's rights, violates statutory discrimination prohibitions, or in other ways seriously violates the rights and freedoms of others, society may be denied grants or grants may be suspended. Now, grants may also be refused or reduced if society encourages or provides support for violations mentioned in the section. Religious or philosophical communities that accept grants from states that do not respect the right to freedom of religion or belief may be denied grants. A group that endorses violence shouldn't get taxpayer money, nor should any group hurting children or violating human rights. More specifically, groups that receive those subsidies can't force people to remain members. They can't ban interactions with non-members. They can't make children pledge a lifelong commitment to them. If they cross those boundaries, then their groups might lose that government funding. Last year, the government announced that it would investigate the witnesses after 2 former members and an anonymous whistleblower sent letters claiming that the witnesses were breaking the rules. It's not as if the Jehovah's Witness beliefs were hidden or anything. It is more likely that government officials needed to act deliberately and get their paperwork in order before taking any action. Now, those letters set things in motion. Some of these assertions were debatable. For example, the witnesses claim that members are not allowed to become involved in politics, which means that Jehovah's Witnesses never vote in elections. And one former member contended that because voting in an election could result in expulsion from the witnesses, which means members couldn't interact with you, it qualified as a rule violation. The witnesses responded that they had every right to set their own policies and that if someone wanted to vote, they were free to leave the fold. Now, in a previous video, I actually discussed Jehovah's Witnesses and the vote. So I'll put the link up to that video on the screen. Other concerns, however, were taken very seriously by the government. According to a written statement from the state administrator in Oslo, 2 Jehovah's Witness beliefs are pretty heinous in terms of the law. 1, the witnesses engage in the practice of disfellowshipping. That means former Jehovah's Witnesses who leave the religion are effectively excommunicated. Members are told not to have any interactions with them. The idea here is that the former members will get so lonely or depressed that they'll eventually come crawling back. There's no shortage of families that have been torn apart because of this practice. The state administrator wrote that Norwegian law requires all religions that receive government subsidies to practice a right to free withdrawal. If there's a serious obstacle to leaving a religion, that's arguably a violation of the law. Disfellowshipping, the administrator wrote, can cause members to feel pressured to remain in the faith community. 2, a similar policy applies to children. If a child in a Jehovah's Witness family makes it a habit to break the moral standards of the Bible and does not repent, according to them, witnesses teach they are also to be treated as pariahs. That means a young teenager, baptized or not, who quits the religion is subject to exclusion from religious members. While their immediate families are not required to kick them out, the state administrator stated that the witnesses believe the child should no longer have contact with other close family, including grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, or friends. Now, this puts pressure on the child to stay in the fold, which is a violation of their legal rights. They regard social isolation as a form of child punishment. The state administrator concluded that the witnesses are not deserving of the subsidies because of those two systematic and intentional offenses, neither of which can be denied by the witnesses. Of course, Jehovah's Witnesses are still permitted to practice their faith. They simply will not receive any taxpayer funds for it. They just lost out on nearly $2 million of state funding. The witnesses still maintain the right to exclude non-members. What they don't have is a right to be rewarded for it. For a group of people who want nothing to do with the government, they certainly are upset, very upset over not receiving a government handout. The witnesses appealed this decision. When it came to Jehovah's Witness history, it teaches us two things. The Watchtower takes its charity status very seriously. This can be seen from the way they U-turned over the Australian redress scheme after previously writing a letter to say they would not be joining the scheme. Once it became clear they would have their charity status withdrawn, they had a change of heart. Two, in 1990, Jimmy Swaggart lost a court case involving taxes on selling religious publications. Rather than explaining this to the congregation on the Watchtower decided to do its righteous thing and announce new light, as it were. So, since the organization was recently fined for the very same issues in Belgium not so long ago, it remains to be seen what new light will emanate from this. In conclusion, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. As always, I love reading them and engaging with you on these issues. Until next time, bye for now.